Hello everyone. It's been a while. All right, I'm back here on the mic. I've been away for a couple of days, been busy. Life, that good old thing, life happens. As you can see, this video is going to be my Q&A video. So let's answer some questions tonight. So as usual, you should see the question at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to read that and then I'm going to give my response. All right, first question by Mark Levinson. Hey Moses, as a language learner, do you ever get the question, when will you ever use this language? And how would you respond to that? Also, which resource do you find the most useful? ASCII, Teach Yourself, or Colloquial? Okay, so thanks a lot for the question, Mark. When will you ever use this language? I can't remember the last time someone has asked me that. Yeah, I can't remember. Usually when people ask that question, it's when you're working on a language that is very, very rare, and they're wondering where can you possibly use that language. I can't remember. I would just say, well, let's just say if someone did ask me that, I would ask them, what do you mean use it? Like, do you mean as a job, or do you mean like, I would ask them, what do they mean as far as using it? Because if they just mean like just using it with people and communicate, that's easy. Because in the first place, I will, I normally learn languages that I can practice with real people. So, you know, I can answer like that. I can just tell them that I know some people, I practice with them on a daily basis, you know. But if it's as far as a job, then you know that may be a different response. But yeah, if you got a couple friends you use the language with daily, that's using the language. You're getting the practice in. ASCII teachers are colloquial. They're all good for certain things. Like, for example, like ASCII, I like using ASCII for writing exercises because the dialogues are very short. They're very brief. I like how they have the dialogue section, and the exercise section. So I like to write everything out and then write the translation. It's very, very brief. And then they get right to the language. There's no English. You don't have to worry about cutting out the English and stuff. You can use Teach Yourself Colloquial for writing exercise as well. It's just that they, when you listen to the audio, it's not the same. You have to listen to some English. You may have to cut some parts out. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just, that's just part of the course. It's just how it was laid out. But most useful, like I said, it's hard to say which is the most useful because they're pretty much, you can pretty much use them all in a similar way, almost similar way. Teach Yourself Colloquial, I think those two courses are better for grammar because they have a lot of explanations. ASCII has some explanations when it comes to grammar, but it seems that Teach Yourself and Colloquial have the most, and they have more. So I think, yeah, Teach Yourself Colloquial, they're pretty equal in that respect. ASCII, you know, it just lacks the grammatical explanations that Teach Yourself Colloquial have. So thanks again for your question. I hope I answered it thoroughly. In China XP, hi Moses, I just have a couple questions. How do you decide what languages to learn, and how far in advance do you decide this? For example, I remember you said next year you're going to do Hungarian. Do you go by region, or do you have another way of deciding things? Thanks for your question in China XP. Appreciate your support. I recognize the name. I've seen you on many occasions commenting on a lot of the videos, particularly the level of videos. I don't really go by, when I choose languages, I don't have like some people like to stick to a certain region, same family and whatnot. But when I decide to learn language, I look at what will be interesting, what haven't I tried yet, you know, like for example, Finnish, you know. And also my fans, they will bring it up. They say, "Oh, you should try this language. You should try that language." I'll look into that language. I'll say, "Okay, you know, it probably will be cool to try that language." Finnish was like, I would say, part of my fans, because a lot of them were saying that Finnish was difficult, very difficult, and I should look into it, and it will be a challenge for me. And it is a challenge. It is a difficult language. So I chose that just based off of what I've been hearing and just curiosity. I don't really have a pattern on how I choose languages, because as you can see, many of you can see that 1 minute, you know, okay, now he learned Somali. Now I'm learning Finnish. Like, that's a totally different family. So I don't really, I don't really have a pattern when it comes to choosing languages. As far as the level, um, normally I would like to. Normally I would say, like, once I get to like an intermediate, solid intermediate, upper intermediate level, then I'll stop, because I'm not going to learn language to a really high level and never really use the language. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Now, if I was going to the country, there's a couple things. If I was going to the country to work or study or whatnot, or not just that, just spend some time over there, then I will go really high in the language. Um, that's when I would do that. Um, and when I say really high, I'm talking about getting into the C's, you know. Um, so I would do that. Or if I'm only just learning one language, like let's say I'm not interested in any other language, I want to just learn, um, I don't know, Hungarian, you know, I will concentrate. I will, obviously in that case, I will put a lot into that language, because that's the only language I want to learn. But since I want to learn multiple languages, all these languages, I want to have the experience with all these different languages, I have to set goals, realistic goals. Okay. Um, so that's how I decide what level I want to be at. And then also motivation. Like, just recently, you guys know, for Polish, um, I said from the get-go that I was going to just take Polish to, I was going to go through it for 3 months. That's like a basic conversation, basic A2 level. You know, I was going to just do that. But now, since I got a lot of fans from Poland, a lot of support, now I want to take it further. So my goals for Polish have changed, you know. So I would say, based off of motivation, it's just based off of circumstances. But in general, I'd like to just get to at least an intermediate, upper intermediate level, and that's it, and I'll stop, you know. So thanks a lot for your question, in China XP. I really do appreciate it. Next question, Vintage Moth. Hey, I found an old video where you were collabing in a parody of a song, and I was wondering, have you collaborated with any other YouTubers? Yeah, that was, wow, I think you're talking about the Skype Me Baby video, the Skype Me Maybe or whatever it is, I can't remember. I did with, I think it was Benny, yeah, Benny. I haven't, that was like probably 3 years ago. It's been a long time. I haven't collaborated with any other YouTubers. Um, yeah, I haven't. Thanks for your question, Vintage Moth. Ryan Auk, how you doing, my friend? I know this guy. See, that's a hype. All right, what is your opinion on learning 10 to 20 words per day? Has this been a good method for you? Very good question. For some people, this learning words in an isolated way, isolated words, is good for them. Personally, I tried that. I actually tried that when I first started learning Chinese. Tried to learn words individually. Like, I'll say, okay, I'm gonna learn these 15 words a day, these 20 words. I tried that method. I don't want to say it's a bad method, but for me, it's difficult to try to learn isolated words that aren't used in the context. Like, I have to see words used in the context. I can't. Now, the only time that I'm able to learn isolated words is when I need to know a word right away, like sugar or something like that. If I don't know how to say sugar, then I will look up in the dictionary on how to say sugar, you know. that's like the only time that I will do something. I will learn a word, like isolate it like that. But I don't do list of words. I don't do that. And again, I'm not saying it's bad, because it works for some people. It does. It's just for me personally, I don't use that. It didn't work for me. I couldn't use that approach. So yeah, I tried it. I gave it a shot, and it just didn't work out. You have to have context. For me, I have to have a context that I can read and see this vocabulary word popping up all over the place. That's how I will be able to remember the word, because I'm seeing it and I'm using it. Okay. Now, what you probably could do, if you learn 10 to 20 words, you can create sentences and try to use them with native speakers in any way that you can. You can do that, and that may work, and it may help you out. But yeah, I don't. It hasn't been a good method. I can't lie and say it's been good. It hasn't really been a good method. It hasn't really helped me. I tried it, but I didn't really like it, so I stopped trying to learn words like that. So, but thanks a lot for your question, Mahatsanit. Well, wa kumahat santahay. Ozorlan. How many languages do you think I can study at the same time using FLR with Asimil or Teacher Self? Basically, your method. P.S. I got the time. Awesome, you got the time. Now, I made a video talking about this. Yeah, was it earlier this year? I think it was sometime this year I made a video. But basically, I was telling people that why it's difficult to learn multiple languages. You know, and I was explaining to people that most people that go to school and learn languages, they spend years. When I say years, I'm talking about 6 years, 7 years learning one language. They spend a lot of time. They spend time going overseas. So much time learning this language that when they have reached that really good level in that language, then the thought of learning another language is not even. It doesn't even come across their mind, because well, for some people it does, but for the average person, they would think that why I don't want to spend 6 or 7 years of my life trying to learn another language, because they will, in their mind, they think they have to go through that process again, because that's the process they went through when they started learning that first language. Okay, it makes sense. Now, with this FLR thing, I tell people I have different levels, okay? If you do level 1, that's just give you a good A2 level in that language, okay? Now, some people say, oh, I want to be on a higher level. That's fine. But let's just let me answer your question and just show you how many languages you can learn by using this FLR stuff. Now, let's just say you want basic conversation, A2, okay? It's not a very, very high level, but you know, you can converse with a native speaker. You can understand a lot, you know, answer questions and whatnot. If you want to just be on that level, you can actually do, in 1 year, you can learn about 8 languages. First of all, 4, okay? Because it takes about 3 months to finish that level 1. About a solid 3 months. You have 8 weeks worth of material, which is 2 months, but you know, 3rd month is used for just kind of reviewing everything. So in a year, you got what? You got 12 months in the year. 4 languages times 3 times those 3 months is 12. So that gives you 4 languages. So you learn 4 languages in 1 year. And see, now I said 8 because when you can do 2 languages at one time. So let's say this is January and you want to learn French. You start with that FLR stuff. You can actually do French and German at the same time using the same method. You just have to make sure you break up the times in a way that will allow you to get adequate practice with them both, get the adequate study time with them both. That's 8 languages in 1 year. I mean, like I said, it's A2, but that's 8 languages. That's a lot of languages, okay? Now, if you wanted to go higher, you know, go level 2, which is going to take you higher, Then level 2 is going to take you a good solid 5. It's going to take you about 5, about 5 months, 6 months. That's a half a year. So you have to lower, you may have to lower the number, you know. But a lot of people will say, oh, I'm not trying to be completely fluent in language. I just want to be able to converse and have some fun, you know. Get the A2, bam, you know. So I'm just going to look at the first level just to show you how it's possible to learn multiple languages using that method. Okay, if you just get just that I just showed you, level 1, you can in 1 year you can learn 8 languages on that level. 8. Okay, 8. Yes, and if you got the time, that's great. Most people don't have the time because people have to work, they have families, and it's really hard to juggle all that stuff. But if you got the time, you have no responsibilities and whatnot, then you good to go. You can do that. Thanks a lot for your question. I really do appreciate it. I hope I answered it thoroughly. Stormy. Hey Moses, I have 2 questions. What exactly do you do to ensure your daughter speaks Chinese? What are your thoughts on bouncing around from language to language? Example, starting learning French, learn a little bit, then switch over to Vietnamese, dropping French, etc. Do you think it's a bad habit? Okay, so my daughters, basically, you know, their mom is from Taiwan. They speak Chinese over there as a native language. So by them they getting that from her, you know, she's speaking to them and stuff. You know, they're still young, so they're able to pick that stuff up. That's important for a child to have that type of exposure. So that's the most important thing. I also have some plans that I want to put them in a school, particularly a weekend school, for extra exposure. You know, although they're getting it from their mom, I still want to get them more exposure in that language to ensure that they will be strong in a lot of areas and not just listening. And you know, they got to be strong in listening, spoken, and written language. So I have to take the initiative to make sure that they are strong in all areas. Okay. What are your thoughts on bouncing around from language to language? You know, this is what I was doing in my beginning stages of language learning. I was bouncing around. I was all over the place. I didn't have a solid schedule. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just had motivation and just was having fun learning all these different languages. And I didn't even have any goals. See, that happens when you bounce around like that and don't know. That's when you're aimlessly learning stuff and don't have a goal. That's why it's very important for you to set a goal and say, okay, I want to start this language and I want to be here. That's so essential to do before starting a language. You have to set a goal. Otherwise, you just be doing this. You say, okay, now I'm tired of that, and let's do this. And then see, you didn't make much progress because you didn't spend much time on it. You didn't set any goals. So, is it a bad thing? Is it a bad habit? I would say, yeah, because it's affecting you. It's affecting your ability to set goals and just be dedicated on certain things. You know, I mean, although I was like that, I would say that it did help me in my experience of learning. You know, you got to start from somewhere. But looking back and looking at how I'm handling languages now, I would advise people not to just jump around like that. I mean, it's really simple. Just set some goals. Say, oh, okay, if I'm gonna do this German, I just want basic conversation. Just spend 2 to 3 months on that. Bam, and then you can drop it and be done because you will have reached your goal. You have to set goals. You don't want to just be bouncing around and you know, that's just not good. You don't want to do that. So, yep, that's how I feel about that. And that's just, like I said, I'm just going based off of my experience. Okay. All right. Thanks for your question, Stormy. I really do appreciate it. Next question. Username 01. Why did you learn Chinese initially? Then what made you want to learn other languages even though you were still focused on learning Chinese? Okay. Thanks for the question, username. I learned Chinese because I wanted to try to do something new. I wanted to try something different, something that nobody else was doing. That's hence Chinese. See, I could have done Spanish, German, French. You know, I could have done those languages, but see, Chinese is very different, and so I felt that that would be a lot different. It'd be interesting for me to try out. Um, a lot of people were doubting. They were saying you're not going to learn that, and it's too difficult. It's the most difficult language in the world. But it didn't stop me. So I tried that, and I started studying. It got me going up to Borders at the time. That's what the store was called, and I bought a little simple book, a little dictionary. Actually, Cantonese was the first one that I wanted to learn. Cantonese, because the Kung Fu movies, they were dubbed in Cantonese. Um, so I was initially going to learn Cantonese. I bought this old Teach Yourself Cantonese book. And it came with audio, the cassette back in the day. There were no audio CDs. And I think I got up to like chapter 5 and I stopped because it felt a couple reasons. First of all, I didn't feel that I was making progress. I was learning all these words out of context, all this stuff about restaurants and hotels and all that stuff that I couldn't really use. And then it was funny because when I did meet someone who was able to speak that language, I would just use stuff from the dialogue, just repeat stuff from the dialogues, and they'll just laugh and stuff, say, "Oh, that's cool, that's cool," And then not only that, I had a lot of people from mainland China telling me that I shouldn't learn Cantonese because it's useless. It's useless, and so I should learn Mandarin. So it was a combination of both, and then I decided to just drop Cantonese. When I went to Borders, I noticed they had a lot more resources for Mandarin than Cantonese. So I started doing Mandarin, and I got a lot more practice, and it just seemed more useful. So I just stuck with that. And then as far as branching off to these other languages, there were times when, because I just want to do Chinese. I didn't even say, "Oh, I'm going to learn all these languages and blah, blah, blah." No, this is how it happened. I used to go out and practice these languages. Okay, I was with my buddy Ichimaru, my friend, many of you know Ichimaru, Jamal, and we will meet people, like, we'll walk up to them and ask them what time it was, and then like they would tell us, and then we'll ask them like, where you ask them where you're from, and then they were just like, "Oh, a lot of them were saying like, I'm from Korea," or they would say, "I'm from Vietnam," or something, and didn't have anything to say. So having had those situations, I decided to go get some Korean phrase books, Japanese phrase books, Vietnamese stuff. And every time it's like, okay, next time I meet a person from Korea, I'm gonna at least be able to say hello, or thank you or something like that. So started doing that. Did that with, I remember, Korean, Arabic, Hindi, just simple stuff, and it was really fun. It was really fun, like doing that with a Korean person, and you're like, "Oh yeah, Korean." Just some simple stuff, and they got surprised. I said, "You know what? It would be cool to do this with another language." Did it with Arabic. Did it with Japanese, and well, Japanese. It was with Japanese. My Jamal, he was the Japanese man. He knew more Japanese. Okay, and we would go to Kent State, and they have a large population of Japanese students. So we would go up to Kent State occasionally, and when we met Japanese people, he'd just be talking to them, and I'd just be sitting there just looking, just listening. I didn't understand Japanese, and then one day I was like, "You know what? I'm going to get on this Japanese. I'm going to join the conversations. I want to do this. I want to have some fun too." And that's when I went and got the Japanese phrase book. But that's how that all happened. So, yep, that's the story. I actually told the story before, but you probably new to my channel. You probably didn't hear it. You didn't see the video. Pretty old, but I appreciate your question nonetheless, and thanks a lot. Next question, Sharmi Barmi. I've been studying for a while now, but my friend wrote me a note and I couldn't read a thing. So I've come to realize that I can only read really square Chinese. Wait, I can only read really square Chinese, almost like what a computer would type. Do you have any recommendations on how to improve on this? Square Chinese. Let me see. So I couldn't realize that I can only read really square Chinese. You mean simple? I'm guessing that you're meaning like really simple Chinese. Let me see. It sounds like, you know, I'm just gonna take this as simple, like really simple Chinese. It sounds like a lack of exposure. You can't, you want to expose yourself. That's what the writing exercises, those are really good because you exposing yourself to more context and where different characters and words are used. I would suggest, you know, you can use ICML, teach yourself colloquial, and just use those dialogues as exercise. They use common stuff, daily stuff, so you'll be able to learn a lot more that way. Just get in the habit of reading stuff. Get some children's books, anything. Start off simple. Get some really simple children's book. Well, before you get the children's book, I will start off getting the just get a teach yourself colloquial or ICML. Start writing out the dialogues, and then once you've done that, not completely, but once you've gotten halfway through that book or whatever, then you can get like some children's books and kind of, you know, knock it up a little bit, a little notch, and just read a little bit of that. Do something. Don't go out and get like a hardcore book. You know, that might be difficult. To get a children's book, something real simple. Actually, get a bilingual book. I will advise doing that, and that will help you to gradually build your vocabulary and understand more words. That's what I would do. Thanks a lot for your question. I appreciate it. It's cream. Next question. Hi, Moses. I've been learning English since not a long time ago, but I mixed Britain with American English. But I got this Pimsleur audio in some podcast from some American guys that did my grammar with Oxford books. My questions are, did you have the same problem with another language? There will be a problem if I continue like this. What do you suggest? Thank you. Yeah, that's interesting. You said you mix English with Britain English. That's very interesting. I never heard of anyone having that problem. Mixing language with another language, they're very similar. I did have some problems when I tried to learn Spanish and Portuguese at the same time. It was a disaster. I was mixing up a lot of words. So I had decided to just drop one and just wait until I got better than the other and then start the other one later. I think you have to focus on one until you get strong in it. And then once you get strong, you can pick up the other one. Otherwise, you're going to continue to have problems. That's what I would do. Just focus on one and just work on the other one later. So wish you the best of luck. I hope you get things together, and I appreciate your question. Next question, embrace the future. Let me see, embrace the future. Hey Moses, when did you first know that this was what you wanted to do in your life, speaking specifically towards learning other languages? I started when I was 18. Like I explained before, I wanted to just try something out, something different, and I just fell into it. Once I started meeting people and, you know, learning more of the language, I fell into it, and at that time, I think I was about 19, I was like, you know what, I want to keep doing this. This is something I love. I want to pursue this. I enjoy it. I enjoy meeting the people. It makes me happy. So why not? Why not keep going with it? So that's really what, around that time, 18, 19 years old is when I decided that I was going to keep going with the language learning. So thanks for the question. Embrace the future. Raymond Chopsticks. Do you have a favorite Asian language, and what's the hardest and why? Thanks, Lao Shu. Well, I say this many times. My favorite Asian language is Cantonese. It's really, you didn't ask me why. And what's the hardest and why? The Asian languages, what's the hardest? All of them are hard, but you have to break them down in aspects and of why they're hard. You know, definitely Chinese is one of the most difficult ones there. Why? Because the writing. Now that's the most difficult in the world, the writing, hands down. Writing characters, learning characters, that's a very difficult task. Very difficult. Not just for foreigners, but also for native Chinese speakers. So it's really hard to say what is the hardest one, since I like to break them down in aspects. Grammatically, definitely it's like Japanese, Korean, those SOV languages, subject, object, verb, those are pretty difficult, especially for English native speakers, because you have to totally adjust to the opposite way of speaking. You know, you just turn the English and just turn it backwards. You know, that's what you got to learn and get adjusted to. So grammatically, from a grammatical perspective, those languages that are SOV will be the hardest languages to learn in Asia. And pronunciation wise, you got what? Vietnamese is Vietnamese is probably the most difficult in Asia. Then you have Chinese. Chinese pronunciation is hard, but it's not like Vietnamese. Vietnamese is worse. But I can't say what's the hardest language. So it's really hard for me to say this is the hardest language overall, because there is no hardest language overall. You have to look at them in aspects and say, okay, this language is the most difficult in this aspect, and this language over here is the most difficult in that aspect. That's how I do it. I appreciate your question, Raymond Chopsticks. Thanks a lot for your question. Aiden Giordano, where do you get these books that are in both languages, preferably a Polish English book? My name is pronounced Adin. Oh, Adin. Okay. You can, those easy to find. Like if you go, like basically I just went to like Amazon and I typed in Polish bilingual books, and they had a whole bunch of stuff come up, like readers, children's books, you know, Polish children's bilingual books, something like that. Just do a search, quick search, and you know, it's really simple. And then I may get some recommendations from some people, from my partners. They may recommend a book, and I'll look it up. But in general, I'll just do a search, a simple search, and see if what I can find under that title. Thanks a lot for your question, Adine. And that's it. Those are all the questions for this week. So again, you guys, apologize for this delay. I've been really busy. Had a lot of stuff going on, so I had to step away from YouTube for a little bit, take care of this business. And I also started working out. It's been about a week, so my body's been, I'm getting used to it, but it's been really painful. I've been in a lot of pain just last week, because you know, that's a major life change. You start going to the gym, you haven't worked out for a long time, so I had to get used to that. I was sleeping a lot, and but I feel great. Yeah, I think it's great. It's a good life change, and I think it will be very good for me for the future. But that is it for these questions. And if you guys, as usual, if you guys have any questions, ask them here in this video, because how these questions are getting chose are, I have someone choosing the questions for me, and they'll just send me the questions, and I'll just make this type of video, and I'll answer them like this. So just comment in this video. Yeah, make a comment here, and then your question may appear in the next questions and answers video. So that is it. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for viewing, and I'm out of here, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Take care. Peace.